What's up, everyone? Welcome to Moments with the Marcelins. My name is June.
My name is Stephanie.
And we are the Marcelins. Our moments together will be centered on three things: transparency, tools, and truth. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a pretty hectic week.
Yes, it has been pretty busy.
Yes.
Got a lot going on.
Got a lot going on. My teeth are really hurting. My wisdom teeth.
Why are your teeth hurting?
I need to get my wisdom teeth pulled out, y'all. So
pray for him. I know
pray
it's
for
gonna be
me.
tough.
Pray for me. Yeah, I'm getting 3 pulled next week, so I don't know.
Yeah, so he's already told me like what he needs,
Yes.
what he wants. On those days, I feel like, you're just gonna like be on the couch, chilling, resting.
Yeah, I'm really nervous. They're putting me under, so I don't know what to expect. But
I know I'm not a big fan of the dentist. Are you a big fan of the dentist? I don't know. Like
I have a love-hate.
Yeah.
It just you're most vulnerable.
I know.
Yeah.
Like you really are exposed.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
The dentist told me the other day. She's like, "This is where you are most vulnerable right now."
Oh, snap. Yeah, she actually reminded you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So other than that, though, I'm doing well.
Good.
How's life treating you?
Life is good.
Life
it's
is
a little
good?
busy, but life
crazy?
is always busy. And part of that is just being able to prioritize and being able to like just focus on what you can, knowing when to say no and when to say yes. So I'm kind of in that right now.
That's a good one. That's a conversation that needs to be had. Not for this episode in particular, but we definitely need to have that one. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
So what are we going to be talking about today?
So today we're going to be talking about things that we kind of wish we knew before we got married. And it's one of the things that it's not like it like made or like it wasn't like a make or break moment in our relationship or in our lives, but I wish I would have either had a different mindset stepping into that when it came to these areas, or I don't know, someone would have just probably just talked to me about it. I feel like sharing from their experience. For
sure, absolutely. And I think sometimes people go into marriage thinking that everything's going to be sweet and nice, and only to come to find out that it is not that.
Yeah.
And something that I shared the other day via social media was that, society has taught us how to prepare for a wedding, but, part of what we want to do is to teach people to prepare for marriage.
Yeah, absolutely.
So whether you're single, whether you are in a relationship, if it's complicated, if you're just getting out of one, a lot of what we want to do is focus on, communication and just healthy relationships.
Right.
Right. And that goes beyond just romantic, but just
absolutely
in every avenue. And so I feel like if you have an open mind and an open heart to what God wants to share, I believe that you can learn something.
Absolutely. I agree. So the first thing we kind of want to talk about is, and I feel like we can all kind of work on this. Maybe if you're an expert in this, please let me know. Let me know what you use. Let me know what you utilize. But I think time management and honestly prioritizing non-negotiables in relationships are so important.
Yes.
Like we stepped into marriage and we like literally hit the ground running, and I mean like busy wise. Like we were both in school. We were both full-time school, full-time work. We were serving in like church and ministry.
Full-time?
At a full-time capacity. Yeah, it was more than just like, whenever you could. And
more than just volunteer hours. We were working there like pastors.
Yeah, and it was it was tough.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a really tough like time. So you're like newlyweds, like still trying to get to like, get to know each other. And then on top of that, if you heard like our episode and our story, like literally shortly after we got married, like we hit like our first crisis. So imagine all of that kind of going on at the same time. It was like the perfect storm where like, when we started our healing process and kind of like, wanting to kind of build a culture in our marriage, because every relationship is going to have that. You're going to build your own culture. I started feeling like, we weren't able to do like, I don't know, just like either newlywed stuff or like, adults in a different way because we just didn't have time.
Right.
And
no, we had the time. We just didn't.
That's what I felt like at the moment.
Right,
yes, I felt like we didn't have the time. And so with that came like a huge reality check. Like you need to schedule those things that are non-negotiables in your relationship. And I had a hard time kind of like adapting to that because I was like, but you want to be spontaneous. Like you want to just do things and be like sporadic, and it's like, it's cute and it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
But there needs to be intentionality in your relationship. And that also is like scheduling time for that. And so what we started doing was at the beginning of the month, we would sit down and kind of prioritize like those important things in our lives that we wanted to do for that month. And we would put that on the calendar, and that was a non-negotiable for us. So it didn't matter what came, what requests came, like work-wise or church-wise or school-wise, we knew that since that was on the calendar, it would not be moved. And so we prioritized and we gave value to that. And so we would work, around our schedule to make sure that all of the other needs and demands were being met, that we would still make time for us, for that.
Would you mind like sharing what were some of those things that were non-negotiables, just to kind of give our viewers and listeners some examples of that?
Absolutely. So there's like personal things, and then there's like relationship things too that we included in that. Personal things, and I know for us it was both different. Like for you, it was like my non-negotiables is like, I'm going to work out in the morning, and I need to wake up at a certain time to be able to do that. And so that was like super important to you, and it's like I function better if I have this time. And then your devotional time and stuff like that. For me, it was just like making sure that I like stopped at a certain time with work, and I was having like girl time, when I needed it. I was doing some self-care, like for me it was either like getting my nails done or getting my hair done or something like that I would feel like I was taking care of self. Spending time reading. And so different things like that we would kind of plan out, throughout the week or throughout the month that was important. Date nights were also another non-negotiable. So, and it didn't have to be elaborate or, we didn't have a lot of money to start with anyway. So just like, we honestly made it.
Struggling.
We were struggling. And that's just the reality, to be honest. And so, at the beginning, it was kind of like, we're just going to be creative and, but at the end of the day, the goal of it was to be able to spend time together. Yeah. And therefore, our like emotional tank, our love tanks or emotional tanks were full. At that moment. So, and again, I had a hard time kind of adapting to it because I was like, only like old people like schedule things, and like I want to be spontaneous and I want to be sporadic and I want to be like, oh, let's just like go with the flow. But sometimes you don't have that opportunity to just go with the flow because there's a lot of demands that are kind of pulling you left and right. And you want to make sure that you prioritize your relationship. So we did that. And so far, it's worked. It
has worked. And it was challenging to kind of go back on what you were saying in regards to scheduling out and feeling, that was especially hard for me because by nature, you are a planner.
Yeah.
Just your upbringing and things like that. You just been very organized. So coming from someone who's more of a free spirit,
very free spirit.
I guess that's what we'll call it, a free spirit. That was hard for me. I looked at it, I was like, what? I don't need to plan this out. Like, we're going to just make it happen. But like, what I didn't realize is that like, once you get kind of caught up in a day's work, like you can kind of forget and put off the things that you wanted to do, Yeah. And so for me, like you stated, like me working out, that was so big for me because I was able to release whatever stress is going on in my life. And like, I don't know, like anybody who's watching right now who loves to work out, what it is to put on the earphones and listen to your favorite artist and just go into the gym and just kind of disconnect. And so that was so important to me that I was just like, this is a non-negotiable. Yeah. But along with that, having time for one another because it's like we were doing so much work and like counseling and looking out for other people, but it's like, what about ourselves?
Yeah.
And prioritizing that and being like, no, Friday nights we're gonna cut it off. Like at 5 o'clock, we're gonna cut it off and we're gonna put our phones away and actually spend time with each other. And so that was challenging because from the time we were dating, like we hit the ground running. Like
we were always doing.
We were always doing, and not that is bad, but at the same time, we also need to honor the Sabbath and honor rest. And that is something else that is another episode that we can go more in depth with. But we needed to, honor that time. I needed to create space to be creative. I'm a musician. I like to write. And so, even that, like, I was just like, I'd have the itch to create, but I'm like, man, where's the time? And I'm like, no, like, and like you said, it felt like in the beginning, like I just didn't have the time, but no, it was just what I was prioritizing to.
Right.
And one of the things that I learned and that we learned and that you'll learn is that when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And so
That's right.
You need to keep that in mind, not to say yes to everything, but sometimes you literally have to say no to things because it's going to help you in the long run. And so it felt ridiculous at first, if I'm honest, to actually put something in a calendar to hang out, because I'm more of a go with the flow type, but I've seen the fruit from it and that it has helped me, because now instead of someone just being like, hey, you want to hang out, I'll look at my calendar. Oh, sorry, I got something going on. You know, I got date night with my wife, you know, because I love you, but sometimes like you can kind of miss that.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. And it's not like intentional. You don't do it maliciously or like, you know, you just kind of get caught up with like, you know, the demands of life, and that's normal. But within all of that, I think it's just important to give and value, give your relationship time, give yourself the time that you need to be the best version of yourself. And that has helped us through kind of scheduling and planning that stuff out. As simple as it can be, it honestly helped us a lot. So that's why we were like, I feel like this is one of those things that I wish I would have known more of. And we kind of just like struggled at the beginning, but you know, thank God we're in a better place now.
Yeah. And we're still working towards getting better.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I would say that within the past year, it's definitely gotten better. I mean, COVID played a big part into that. But I think even just the new locale where we're at, just a much slower pace than where we were back home in Orlando, which has helped in just kind of being creative. And so time management and prioritizing those non-negotiables is definitely something that we wish we would have known before we got married. But, you know, we're learning, you know? Right.
And when it came to that and how we would kind of, because sometimes it's like, okay, but how did you guys actually like do that? Like, what was your, like, I don't want to say a formula, but like, what did you guys kind of like map out in your work day or work week to be able to do that? So we actually plan our days in thirds. So we have a 3/3 day. So we have morning, afternoon, and night. And this can be a lot for some people. So do what you can to be able to, you know what I mean, make something work for you.
Right.
Just because we're saying something doesn't mean that, you know, it fits. And
this
so this is what works for us.
It works for us.
So we plan our days in 3. So morning, afternoon, and night. And so when you were talking about rest, you know, we work, you know, Monday through Friday, you know, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., you know, regular business hours. And then, of course, on the weekends with ministry and different things like that. So what we would try to do is if we worked an entire day, you know, kind of giving ourselves that morning or afternoon to kind of like regroup and then continue work in the next third. And so, again, that's what kind of helped us. So that way we can kind of like help balance each other and stuff like that. So if I know that we were working, you know, all day on Sunday, you know, because again, you have like church on Sunday morning and whatever, that night we wouldn't plan any events. We wouldn't plan any meetings. We wouldn't plan anything like that, so we can kind of regroup. And then the next morning, of course, it's Monday, so we would have to, you know, work and stuff like that. So we would give ourselves either that afternoon or that morning, depending on your schedule, to kind of rest, regroup, and do what you want for that self-care. And again, throughout that month, we would kind of just prioritize those non-negotiables, so we can ensure that, you know, we're taking care of self and, you know, keeping your relationship with God and and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, that's good, Steph.
Yeah.
Something else that we wish we'd have kind of known before kind of jumping into marriage is what we like to call the parent-child relationship. The parent-child relationship. That is correct. And so what I mean by this is, you know, oftentimes, and I used to kind of have this mindset, is that what I lack in and what you're strong in, because you're strong in that, then I'll just hand that off to you and I just go about doing what I'm strong at and vice versa.
Yeah.
Not understanding until, you know, we're in counseling for this, that no, that is what they call a parent-child relationship. And so that's what that is like if someone is lacking in an area, the significant other is strong in that area. However, the person who is lacking in that area is not doing anything to improve themselves in that particular area. So perfect example. So you're very organized, and you have things in order. You calendarize everything. Me coming into our marriage, I was not so much.
Yeah.
I would just kind of go with the flow, like,
Free
hey, let's
spirit.
just hang out. And I know y'all that are viewing this right now are laughing right now, for those who really know me and things. And so, in going into marriage, it was like, okay, like, she's really organized and stuff like that. And she will, make sure that, everything is paid on time and things like that.
Yeah.
Not that, I wasn't contributing because I was working, but like I was just in the beginning, like I was just kind of oblivious.
Yeah, like you got it. Okay.
You got it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, and I thought that was fine until I realized the stress that I was actually putting on you. You get what I'm saying? And so that's oftentimes what happens is that, whether you're organized and I'm disorganized, it's like, no, like we're supposed to be a team, right?
Yeah.
We're supposed to be a team. And so we'll get to that and to the next point.
Yeah.
But when we talk about, relationships and the parent-child relationships, is that like I just kind of felt like if Stephanie has it, then we're good to go. But what I needed to understand is that, no, we're supposed to bring each other up to the same equal level.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the parent-child relationship, something that you can begin to see and that we experienced was that the parent is like the expert in that particular area, and the child doesn't know or has no guidance in regards to that. It's not a strong suit. So everything is coming down to that person as a parent. So you're like giving instruction, you're giving to-dos, you're giving deadlines, you're giving all this kind of stuff. Instead of in a relationship, it's equal. So just like me, as an expert in this or someone who knows about this, I need to teach you so you're at my level.
Yeah.
And so we both lead from that direction, not as a parent and a child. Because then you're like, why are you momming me? Why are you telling me what to do? Like, and so it begins to feel like that.
Yeah.
And you don't want that in a relationship because you didn't marry your mom.
That's
you know what I
so
mean?
good.
You didn't marry your dad. Like you married your spouse, your best friend, you know what I mean? The person that you're with. And so that's why you're bringing each other up to that level. So we can both lead from that position.
You just explained that so much better. I was trying to explain it.
No,
That just wasn't so. That
This is
just
why we
go-
compliment each other.
This is why we compliment each other, because
yeah.
sometimes like I understand something in my mind, but I'm like, man, do I really understand it? Because I'm not really explaining it right. So thank you for that. And you bring up a good point, because I remember there would be times where you'd check up and follow up to see if I did something. And I'm like, why are you giving me this list? Like, I hate lists. Oh my God. Like, I hate to-do lists. I hate hubby lists, all that stuff, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
It would give me anxiety.
Yeah.
It would give me anxiety because like you come with me like with 10 different things. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta do all of that. And so like as time is, passed, like even like how you approach me with certain things,
Absolutely.
like it's
Completely
definitely different. And so I've learned to also put things in the calendar so I'm knocking it out. And man, it's nothing like when you knock something out and you scratch it off. Like you just...
We both just did that
It's
at
like-
the same time. Did you see that?
Yeah. Oh my
We both
God.
literally-
It's because we're one. We corny. I know. We are cheesy.
That's
but
like our thing. It's just funny.
yeah. I forgot what I was saying.
No, but yeah, so it's you learn that about each other. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And specifically like the list and like the
Yeah.
to-do. So once we're both at the same level, like, okay, we both know how to manage this. We both know what those expectations are. We both know what the boundaries are in regards to our bills, our finances, whatever.
Yeah.
And whatever arena of your life you're working on, we're both knowledgeable. So therefore, you know what the expectation is.
Yeah.
I know what the expectation is. And so if I need help, I can just like be like, hey, can you just jump in? And I don't have to teach you or do all this to-do list or all of these like how-tos.
Yeah.
Because you understand. And we're both leading from that place of, understanding and knowing.
Absolutely. And something else that when I think about is that, God forbid, but if something were to happen to you and I'm completely lost and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so it's like I could just step in at a moment's notice and be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so in that way, you're not getting stressed out because you're dealing with all this other stuff. And then I'm not feeling like I'm being controlled. And so, coming into it, it was a challenge. It was difficult. It did feel like at times that, you were trying to, just kind of tell me what to do. But no, you were coming from a place where you're trying to help.
Yeah.
And so it was just misunderstanding. But once we kind of got that illumination per se, revelation, yes. It was like, okay, things begin to start working better. And now, like, I feel like we're definitely in a better place, and we complement each other and we help each other out as well. So, got you. Which leads me to our third point. There is no I in team.
Yes.
There is no I in team. And I love the acronyms of the word team. Together, everyone achieves more. Together, everyone achieves more. I know it sounds cheesy. I know it sounds like a cliche, but going into marriage, I didn't realize how selfish I was.
Me too.
And so, if you don't know me, a little bit about my story is that I am the last of 4 children.
The baby.
I'm the baby, and I was my father's only child. So I'm the only child in the baby. So I have that. I have I have those two things, and that's crazy when you really think about it. Because by the time my brothers came to the States, they were raised in a different country. And my mom's first marriage, I was already like 15, 16 years old. They were already grown men, and so they kind of lived with us for a little bit, and then kind of, found their own house and things like that. And so I was used to just kind of having everything my way when I wanted it. And so going into marriage, like, not realizing that like, man, like, I'm not as selfless as I thought I was. And that we kind of like bumped heads in the beginning because I just didn't have the mindset. Like, I was used to, especially in young adulthood, like, whenever I go out to eat, I just get something for me. I was not used to, as a young adult, telling someone that, hey, I'm going to be out with the fellas. I was just kind of used to just doing things on my own, not checking in. Like, I didn't need to check in. And anybody who knows, your parents, especially your mom, always calling you and stuff like that. I just look at it, ignore. I'll call her back and stuff like that.
You had the privilege to do that.
I had the privilege to do that.
I could not ignore my mom's calls.
What would your mom do?
What? She'll keep calling. And then she'll text me, and then she'll be like, why aren't you answering my phone calls? What are you doing? So, Latina moms, y'all know.
Yeah. Funny story we got to share one day. And so I was used to just kind of doing my own thing. And we kind of bumped heads. And I had to realize, like, in a relationship, we're a team.
Right.
And we had to remind each other, hey, we're on the same team. Really? And still to this day, we say that to each other. Like, we're like, hey, you know what? We're on the same team. Yeah. And it was definitely an eye opener. And you'll notice, like, when you get into a marriage, it's not about you. And sometimes we think, well, duh, you say your vows and things like that, but you really don't understand sometimes how self-centered sometimes you can be. And I know that might sound strong and harsh, but yeah, like, you're talking about 2 different people coming from 2 different walks, 2 different cultures. It's like, we were both Christians. We were both believers. We had values and things like that. But man, you really learn more about a person when you come together and live together. And I'm still learning about you, and you're still learning about me. I don't think that is a cycle that ever ends. And so what was that like for you?
I think part of that was like, just the merging of 2 lives together. And that meant like the expectations and like what role would you play in this relationship and like all these different things. And that and for me, like, for you, you're like, okay, I felt like I was selfish too. You know what I mean? Because I stepped into the relationship is kind of like more of what I was going to gain, not so much of what I was going to give and serve. That's and good. How like important that is in your relationship. Like, and I don't mean it in any way like I'm here like, bending to, needs that are unnecessary or things that are out of, I'm not speaking out of things out of context, but like just within a relationship, it's just like, it should be selfless. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and not malicious or not without ill will or your own agenda. You just do it out of love and out of service. You know what I mean? And so sure. Like how Christ has done with us. And so reflecting that was challenging for me at the beginning. Secondly, it's just like understanding that whatever challenges that we were faced with, it wasn't like the challenge and us standing on opposite ends of it. It's like we're standing on the same side, trying to combat or like overcome whatever's coming our way.
Right.
Because I got your back.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so there's a couple of things that we did that kind of helped us like reshape or reframe, you know, what we had believed to be true stepping into marriage when it comes to like, you know, the team aspect and like us working at, you know, working towards things together and not on opposite ends. So what were some of those things?
I think the first one is that we had to adopt a no loser policy. And so basically, if I don't give my heart a voice when I think it's a loss, it's an automatic loss because I am a part of the team.
Yeah. So what does that look like?
So going into it, you know, prior is like, okay, I'm going to get my point across. I just want to be right. But like, no, now it's like, no, I don't want to win the argument and lose the person. And so kind of going with the mindset that, hey, like, how can we both win out of this situation? Where can we meet and have common ground?
Yeah.
Because I have to give a little to get, and vice versa. You get what I'm saying? And so it's kind of coming together and finding that middle ground. It's not just, oh, it's my way or the highway. First of all, you wouldn't let me do that, you know. But yeah, just kind of having that, you know, that no loser mentality that, hey, like, we're in this together.
To both win.
Yeah. To both win. So the second thing is we would have what we call, and we still do this, heart talks.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like a check-in that we do with one another just to see where we're at. And so, you know, through these conversations, we would, you know, definitely schedule time for that. You know, how are you doing? What is happening outside of our relationship that, you know, that I might not be privy to? What's going on at work? What are you dealing with? Or what are maybe some internal issues or what are tensions that we may have with one another that I might not be aware of?
Right.
And let's talk through this, you know?
Right. And this heart talk is a very, you know, you can, it's, for the most part, it's always very informal. So it's not like if you have a set agenda, unless you want to like write things down as to like what you would like to discuss. I think it's always good to let your spouse or partner know like what you're wanting to talk about, so things aren't like caught out of left field,
right?
Because that
and
can
try
also
to come
be
with minimal as possible.
So I would say maybe one, maybe two things that you want to talk about, and ultimately it's just an extra level of vulnerability and like, hey, I know we're still trying to figure this situation out, but this is how I'm kind of feeling. Not that you're making me feel a certain way, because they can't make you feel a certain way, but this is how I am feeling because of what's going on. And therefore, again, you just have that open, transparent, you know, conversation with no judgment. You know, this is safe. There's, you know, and, you know, you're able to kind of share. And then the other person has maybe at that point a different perspective stepping into that problem or issue that you will both have to resolve.
Absolutely. And something else that we did, I mean, it goes without saying, but I feel like I never want to assume that everyone knows that we would pray for unity. Would honestly pray for unity. And so taking time apart, like, hey, God, like, help me with what I'm going to say, what is going to be discussed. Help me not to react, but help me to, you know, take off the hat of fixer and put on the hat of researcher to figure out and understand where it is that Stephanie is coming from, so I can have a better understanding and how we can do this and maneuver this together. And so we would definitely pray for unity and pray for peace. And so brainstorm, you mind elaborating on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we would actually come back to like try to resolve and again come from it at, you know, from a team, you know, perspective, to try to solve the issue, we would first kind of have like a brainstorm session. And this sounds like very like, okay, why am I brainstorming? I brainstorm for like research papers. But to be honest, like during that brainstorming session, it's like we're both just coming at it to like solve the problem. And in this brainstorming session, there is no like solution off the table. So you might think it's ridiculous what they're saying, but just write it down or like make a note of it.
Yeah.
And you don't verbalize, you don't like discredit, you don't invalidate what they're saying. It's just like, just put it on paper. And you don't know what solutions can come out of those situations. We've been really impressed, like when we've kind of done this, like you're like, wow, like I would have never thought about that, or how like that idea mixed with my idea may actually like work. But if we never kind of gave ourselves the opportunity to kind of like voice those things, the problem would have still been a problem, you know?
Sure.
So once you have everything kind of laid out in that brainstorming session, then you evaluate. So you start kind of going through those solutions and recommendations, those thoughts, one by one, and then you guys actually grade them. So like again, you guys are coming at it from the same perspective. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think? Like, is this doable? Is this not? And you'll rate them. Anything be like lower than a 4 on whatever thoughts, you guys kind of just scratch that off. And you'll move forward with the ones that, have like those higher scores to ultimately solve whatever problem you are trying to solve. The other one is based on whatever you guys decide at the moment to kind of, again, solve the problem. Hey, this is our solution. You'll implement, a process and a timeline. So, okay, in order for us to fix this, you're going to take care of this. I'm going to take care of this. We're going to set up a date. We'll get it done by next Friday. Give us a month, whatever the case may be. If you need to schedule things or, have conversations with people to kind of resolve the issue. And then you guys kind of follow up after that. Anything else you like to add?
I think lastly, just revisit and rework if needed. So we set a time, for example, 2 weeks, we come back. If it doesn't work, then, we replan and, we repeat steps, repeat
the brainstorming, the evaluating, you know what I mean? Assigning it to each other.
Steps 4 through 6.
But, so it ultimately has helped us significantly, you know what I mean? When it comes to like just even solving problems and again, coming from it as a team. First is, brainstorm together, allow to, for your voice and your thoughts to be heard. Second, like evaluate everything. How will this actually work? You guys are a team, so assign each other things to do. So that way you guys can both accomplish it. And then if it doesn't work, then just kind of come back to the table and, be able to solve it again. One of the things that I know is like, you married a lifelong partner, or that is the hope, right? That is our hope. And so, or in your relationship that you both are coming at it from that team mindset. And therefore you truly understand that, you are there for each other and Absolutely. You have each other's back at the end of the day.
Together, everyone achieves more. So we want to thank y'all for joining us for this episode. Thank you for the support for episode 1. Stay tuned. Go ahead and subscribe, share with a friend, leave a review. We definitely want to hear from you.
Don't forget to hit that notification bell.
Yes. Also, if you have any questions that you would like to ask or any topics that you would like to ask, please email us, reach out to us,
Drop
DM
it in
us.
the comments.
Drop it in the comments. Whatever it is, we want to answer those questions. So y'all be safe out there. Take care. God bless and much love. Peace.